Welcome, everybody, to today's class of Living Lessons from Tanya. We are in the middle of chapter 18, which is on page 114, but just a little bit of a background. In the last couple of weeks, we were talking about that when a person wants to really become a better Jew, a better relationship with God, true, he has a lot of struggles inside. Person may be thinking, I'm hungry, so let me go to In-N-Out Burger. But maybe this time, when instead of going to In-N-Out Burger, I'll go to a kosher place. It wants to do the mitzvah. So you go and do the mitzvah, and you go to In-N-Out Burger, but the question is, how do I have more strength? How do I become more towards wanting to do what God wants versus constantly having the outside impulses? You could do this, you could do that can maybe take me astray from doing the Torah and the mitzvah. What can I do? So the Alter Rebbe wrote in the last couple of chapters that if a person takes some time, let's say you're in the car, and you're contemplating and meditating how great God is. He created the world. He's taking care of everything. There's a huge universe out there, and in the universe is this planet Earth, and there's billions and billions, and I use the example like ants all around the world, all looking for food, and they all get food, and they all bring it to the anthill, and then all of a sudden the anteater needs to eat, so it goes and gets to eat the ant. Everything and everybody is being taken care of, even in the sea. The kelp is growing, so it can feed some of the fish. That some of the fish should grow. Everything is taken care of, and there's a whole world that God is taking care of people. God's taking care of me. So you start recognizing that my life is pretty good, and the miracles that happened to me in my life is something that I recognize how much God loves me. So I will then go and do what God's will is, and I'll keep kosher, I'll try to light Shabbos candles, etc. And the more knowledge that you have, and the more that you think about the greatness of God, it's so much easier to become part of God's life and start living God's way of living as it's written in the Torah. But then came the big question. That's easy for somebody who grew up observant, somebody who grew up religious, somebody who has knowledge. But there are many Jews that have no clue of anything that is Judaism, no clue of what it means to be a Jew. Forget about, they haven't even gone to a Judaic school, let alone sat down with a rabbi. So if the concept of getting more love, that you can do the right thing, what about the Jew who has absolutely no clue about anything? For example, many times you and I have met people and we say to them, wow, they're so far gone. Like, whoa, well, what about them? What's their chance to be able to activate a love for God? How are they ever going to go and say, I want to go and do a mitzvah? They grew up. In fact, this past week, I was going around with the lulav and the esrog, the long palm branch and the citron with the leaves. So I was going around in a shopping center near me, and I asked people, excuse me, are you Jewish, etc.? And there was this wonderful couple that was sitting there, and they were 70, 75 years old. He grew up in Brooklyn and came out to California in the 70s. And she grew up in Orange County her whole life. In fact, she was a member of a temple, and she would go and do many programs with the children. He absolutely had no involvement with anything with the temple. Anyway, I walked over to them, and I said, would you like to do the lulav and esrog? And they said, what is that? And I said, the lulav, the holiday of Sukkot. And they said, we've never seen this before. So I'm thinking to myself, do you have a Hebrew name? He said, yeah, my name is Anshul. And she said her name was Gittel. Two Jews. They never saw a lulav and an esrog. So if they never saw a lulav and esrog, what are their chances of ever coming out, being able to find a path to serve God, to do a mitzvah on a constant basis. Where's their love for God if they don't even know what a lulav and esrog is? How many Jewish people, they know they're Jewish, but that's it. How many children were born to a Jewish mother in an intermarriage, were brought up in a church, they know that they are Jewish? What happens to them? Were they ever able to contemplate? Will they ever get connected? So the Alter Rebbe in chapter 18 literally gives us an understanding who these Jewish people are, how to tap in. Because most of the time, you and I, when we meet such people, they're so lost. They are so lost. There's no way they're ever going to go and do anything Jewish, etc., etc. And the answer is that in Judaism, no Jew is lost. Every Jew is created by God. Every Jew has a neshama of God in them. It's untapped. It's covered over with layers and layers and layers and heaping layers from the animal soul that doesn't even know. So I don't even feel anything Jewish. We've met all of these people. Chapter 18 addresses it. And we started getting into it last week. So let's continue. How do we approach? Because we never give up on a Jew. Because a Jew is a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. Even if, heaven forbid, they converted to another religion, or heaven forbid, I shouldn't say heaven forbid because that's the way they were born into it. God had them born into a home of an intermarriage, and they were not brought up in the Jewish faith, or they were born in a Jewish home, and the parents had absolutely no relationship and connection to Judaism. Many families today, they don't even do seders, let alone on Yom Kippur go to a service. So there's so many of these Jews, they're apathetic to Judaism. It's like, I'm born a Jew, but I'm not culturally a Jew. How are we ever supposed to go and think that God is giving them a chance to come back to Judaism? And the answer is God will give them a chance. How? How's that going to come about? So the Alter Rebbe writes on page 114. The Alter Rebbe writes, if you look in the top white box, I'm just going to give a little review, that Hashem can be found in the level of Chochmah in the soul of every single Jew, whoever he may be. What is Chochmah? So if you remember many weeks ago in chapters 4, 5, 6, etc., we were talking about the soul energies that you and I all have. There is the highest part of the soul of the 10 energies that we have. The highest energy is a thing called Chochmah. Chochmah. Chochmah means wisdom. In that part of the soul, it has the potential, has a power to bring something from the outside into my brain. For example, I see something over there, and somehow it goes into my brain. So too many times, there's a flash, a thought that pops into our head. I don't know what to do with it. I don't understand it. But a thought popped into my head. We all get this. This is called the power of Chochmah. A flash pops into it. Sometimes you have issues, you need a solution to a problem, and all of a sudden you're thinking, you're talking to everybody, nobody's helping you to understand what it is. Then all of a sudden you get a flash. You go, whoa, what was that? Let me think about that. And then you stop thinking about it, and you turn it over in your head and use the power of understanding, which is a second soul power. And you, that's it. That's the answer. And now it develops a knowledge that you can implement what you need to do for the solution. So a flash can come in from anywhere. Comes the Alter Rebbe and says, God can be found in the level of Chochmah, like a flash. All of a sudden comes in To every Jew. Let's read more about it on the bottom. Since Hashem is beyond our understanding, since God is beyond our understanding, does this mean that God is totally removed from us because it's beyond my understanding? Is there a way we can actually connect to God? And the answer is of course. In fact, it is possible to connect to God by revealing a hidden connection. A hidden connection with every Jew who's naturally born. I mean, whoever is a Jew, there's a hidden connection. 1 minute. So you're telling me the most secular Jew in the world, you're telling me that the Jew who's born to a Jewish mother and father is not Jewish and may be going to a church and they call themselves a Christian? Are you telling me that they still have that connection deep inside their soul? And the answer is yes. The Alter Rebbe is now going to explain it in a way, and let me speak it to you on the outside. Deep inside us, we have the power to have belief, faith. Deep inside, we can have that. When a person all of a sudden develops, I have a faith, I believe. Sometimes it's hard to explain, but I know. Like there are a lot of people that will say to you, I know God exists. When you ask them, how do you know? I know. Inside me, I know that God exists. The person is so clear in their I know, it's almost like seeing. To them, it's like, just like when you see something, you believe it, even though you don't understand what you may have seen. For example, many times a witness will be called in a courtroom, and the lawyer will challenge what you saw. Are you sure you saw like this? And do you understand what you saw? Was the person thinking like this or the person thinking like that? But you're sounding like the person's guilty or the person's innocent, and the person's questioning what you saw. Now, you know what you saw. That's a fact. Okay, we can always question what you're seeing, but seeing is believing. No one's going to tell me I didn't see what I saw. So too is with faith. I know that there's a God, and I'm connected to God and the Jewish people. Where did that happen in your and I lifetime that we can understand it? October 7th. When October 7th happened, some of the most secular Jews in the world who don't even think about Judaism, doesn't even think about God, they could have gone to unkosher restaurants. Instead of, they never think that there's a Shabbos, they're out on the beach playing, whatever it is. When October 7th happened, all of a sudden, something woke up in every single Jew. Whoa, 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 whoa! You attacked me! What do you mean? I'm living here in America. I've never been to Israel. In fact, generations of my family for maybe 2,000 years have never lived in Israel. Yet, I'm connected to the people in Israel. How? So it's deep inside. You know that feeling is so real. Just like you saw recently when the hostages were coming home, here in America, it was late at night. People were staying up all night, waiting to see a glimpse of maybe a head, a face of a hostage being put into a car and coming home. This is a powerful thing. You don't even know the person. But the love, you're feeling there's a miracle happening. So many people of October 7th who never even thought about Judaism, there was something that was awakened in them, a hidden love. A love so deep that it penetrated out to go and say, I'm a Jew. I have to start lighting Shabbos candles. I have to put on tefillin. I don't know what it is, but I want to become more observant. I got to go to services. Even potential non-Jews may have a godly soul inside them that has to be revealed through their conversion. They all of a sudden woke up and you have no idea how many people of that nature came running to rabbis. I'm a non-Jew. I have to convert. They attacked me. I don't know what it is, but I feel it. This is the hidden chokhmah, the hidden wisdom, the hidden love that's deep in the highest part of your godly soul powers. And chokhmah is a flash. It just brings it in. The word chokhmah has two words, koyach ma. Koyach ma, the potential of what is. So all of a sudden a flash comes in, there's a potential. All of a sudden there was an attack. I hidden love just flashed through me. And it was so real. So every single Jew has the potential to have a hidden love. Now, when a person, sometimes they get sick and they're fighting for life, like it says, even in foxholes, atheists believe in God. So many times when your life is in danger, you wake up and you want to have a relationship with God, that hidden love comes. But it doesn't always have to be because I'm getting sick, God forbid. It doesn't have to be because on October 7th. It could be sometimes that you are on an airplane and you're sitting next to a fellow Jew and they have common interest with you and they say to you, you're a Jew, I'm a Jew. And you have a loving conversation about Judaism, just a simple conversation. Oh, you're Jewish. Let me talk to you about Shabbos candles. Let me talk to you about tefillin. Would you like to put on tefillin on the plane? And so many times people who what the world would call so far, all of a sudden they develop, I want to know more. I feel that hidden love for God. So it doesn't always have to come because of, God forbid, a tragedy. It can actually come because of a powerful love relationship between one Jew and that person. For example, many a times that you will notice that when you invite a Jewish person over to your home and say, let's have Shabbos dinner, and the person says, Shabbos dinner, they look at you, Shalom Aleichem, and they're reading in the transliteration. They don't even know how to sing Shalom Aleichem. And then you sing another long song, Eishes Chayim Yimtza, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, there's a lot of prayers here. I'm bored. When do we get to eat? And then all of a sudden you have to do Kiddush, okay? A nice drink of wine, okay? I can get into that. And then all of a sudden you say to them, okay, get up. We have to go wash our hands. My hands are clean. I washed them. No, you have to go wash your hands. And then you tell them, you can't talk. And they're already getting like, what's going on here? And then you make hamoitzi. You give them, each one of them some challah. And then all of a sudden, the most religious part of the meal begins. Eating. Yes, eating is the most religious part of a Shabbos dinner. Yes, you have to do the Shalom Aleichem. Yes, you have to do the Kiddush. Yes, you have to do the hamoitzi. You have to wash the, you have to do it all. But then all of a sudden when they start eating and there's beautiful people around the table and they see the serenity, they see the peace, and they see how beautiful Shabbos is, there's no distraction from the outside world in. If anything, there's a bonding between me and the people. There's a bonding between me and this beautiful Shabbos table. Where is this coming from? I want more of this. I get it. For the first 7-8 minutes, okay, we got a lot of religious stuff to do. But you want to know something? I wish I knew more about it. So then all of a sudden, they come to services. You awaken a love in them just by showing pure love to them. Come to my home. I don't know you. Come to my home. It's an amazing concept. You just meet somebody on an airplane or in a supermarket. You're a Jew. Come to my home. And they come. Why? What's in them to come? They can go dancing. They can go with their spouse to Phantom of the Opera. Why they come? Because deep inside, every Jew is yearning by their nature to be connected to other Jewish people and to God. The only problem is there's so much dirt. It's like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get around to it. So when one Jew meets another Jew, it's like God setting up. I'm sending you so-and-so. Go talk to them. Go to their house. And they show up. And before you know it, maybe in a year or two from now, they're hosting their own Shabbos table. This is the hidden love in every Jew. It just has to be brought out. It just has to be ignited. The fire is there, but it has to just be, like a little ember. Just wake it up. And all of a sudden, comes the Alter Rebbe. Every single Jew has this love that's deep inside, hidden. In fact, if you look at page 115, it says, because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, since our forefathers and our mothers were so completely dedicated to God, they merited to pass on to all their descendants, righteous or sinful, no matter what their child will be. You're still part of the family. You have a godly soul, which is a piece of God, because that's what makes you a Jew, along with an unbreakable belief in God. But unfortunately, that belief could be hidden because, it's easy for the guy that grew up in the hood with all the religious Jews and their parents are very observant with love and everything. Okay, I love my Yiddishkeit. I love my Judaism. But what about the Jew that grew up in 90210 or grew up in Arkansas, in Alabama, or in the hills of France? These people still have the godly soul, and they still have this hidden love in their soul. All that's needed is that one day somebody comes over to them and say, "Excuse me, are you Jewish? Oh, I noticed you're Jewish." Or something. Let's talk. And when you talk to them as an equal, and you talk to them with the love of a family member, and you invite them to your house, you don't even know who they are. But that's what we Jews do. And all of a sudden that Jew awakens in the most unbelievable way. Let's go to page 116. Before we get to 116, I told over a story over the holiday, and it's a beautiful story, and I think you will all totally enjoy the point that I want to say here. In the 1850s, 1830s, 1840s, 50s, 1860s, late, the Russian government, the czars were very Christian, and they wanted to be able to start getting the Jews to become Christians. There's no way to do it because the Jewish people, they live in a ghetto. They don't have any outside influence. They don't have cable TV. They don't have satellite dishes. They don't have smartphones and anything to go and send the signals to these Jews. So they decided the only way to go and get to the Jewish people is if we take the young boys from the age of 6, 7 years old, and we draft them in the army. Now, most non-Jewish Russians get drafted when they're 16, 17, 18. And then you have to be fit, etc. What they decided to do was to gather children. So they would go from city to city and put a quota. All your kids between the ages of 6 and 8, we're going to come in a week, and we want to have 20% of all your kids, 10% of all your kids, etc., etc., etc. And they were called Cantonists because for 35 years you were not allowed out of the army. And as a young kid, they would start giving you pork, they would start giving you unkosher, and they would break you down. They would start bringing priests to you to teach you to become a Christian, etc., etc. And because you were so young, you're going to forget that even if you had a Jewish mother and father. And yes, this is a real part of our history. Hundreds and thousands of boys were taken away from their parents. It's well known and documented how Chabad used to hijack the railroads, and when the train came to a stop, the Chassidim went and grabbed the children and brought them to many different Chabad families all around Russia. So this way these kids would not have to be part of this. But unfortunately, hundreds of thousands of Jewish men, boys, at the age of 40, when they were released Many of them, unfortunately, did not know that they were Jewish. Regardless, many Jewish people, many of these Jewish kids stood strong at the age of 14, 20, 25, 30, bowed down. And if they didn't, they got whipped and whipped and whipped until they would bow down or they got unconscious. These Cantonists were powerful Jewish soldiers for the Russian army, and if they didn't go fight, they would be killed on the spot. When the whole thing of the Cantonists ended, a group of Cantonists, a true story, a group of Cantonists got together and they went to the city of Rostov in Russia-Ukraine area, and they went to Rostov and they built a synagogue, and it became known as the Cantonist Synagogue. By the way, it is beautiful architecture inside, it's still around, etc. But there was something special about dancing Simchas Torah. You see, this was a holiday that you're supposed to take a Torah and dance, and this was a synagogue just for Cantonisten. So many times in the early years, it was just the wives and the children would come, and the men would dance with the Torah, etc. But they did something in the last dance. This was the custom of the Cantonist synagogue. Each man would give the Torah to somebody, and they would take off their shirt, their tzitzis, and then their undershirt, bare skin, in a synagogue. And they would take the Torah and put it next to the heart and dance. And when you saw them dancing, as they turned in a circle, you all saw their backs. Their backs had welts on it. They were disfigured. It was like, to your eyes, you felt bad. And the reason why they did it, they wanted to go and dance with the Torah, with the Cantonist in pain and love for God, that they never would bow. They took these beatings with joy. So now when it came to dance Simchas Torah, even though it's against the Jewish law to take off your shirt in synagogue, especially to hold the Torah, to them, this was the greatest honor and joy for the Almighty. To show the Almighty, my wounds are dancing with you. My whole body is dancing with you. And the wives and the children, they were all, till it became known, there's a site at the Cantonist synagogue. And for many years, Jews would come from all around to come to the Simchas Torah to watch the Cantonisten, till the last one passed away. But the Cantonisten were ones that showed the Jewish nation right before communism began. They were a symbol of, you can fight whatever it is. There's a hidden love. Even though I didn't learn Torah, even though I wasn't religious, I was 6 years old. But I carried with me a love for being a Jew. And I was willing to go and be beaten. Yes, some of my friends, but not me. I attached myself to that hidden love. So what do we see? There's no logic. There's no understanding of a Cantonist. So too with every single Jew. There will be a point in these secular Jews' lives. There will be a point in these Jews that have no understanding, but they have a love for God, and it comes out. October 7th did it. This past Simchas Torah, Jews came out from synagogues. They just had to dance because the hostages were coming home. They're my brother. They're my sister. I want to dance with the Torah. I want to learn Torah. Where's this coming from? It's beyond logic. Just like God is beyond logic and God is beyond understanding, a Jew can mirror beyond understanding and beyond logic a great love for God. And that's how come we are here for thousands of years, through all the pain, tortures and sufferings that we've had through the entire exile, and Jewish people have assimilated, but we don't give up on any Jew, because they can be brought back on their own if something appears to them negative. Or on the other hand, another Jew finds this Jew and says, I love you. Come to my home. Come dance Simchas Torah. Come to my Seder. Here's candles. Go light for Shabbos. You're a Jew. I'm a Jew. We're equal. We need you. We need your light. We need your tefillin. Comes the Alter Rebbe and says, the one that you think is so far from Judaism has the powerful love potentially inside. And it's up to you to meet them, tap them, bring it out in a loving way. Don't go and say, oh, well, we Jews don't do this, we Jews don't do that. Don't give them the laws that you can't do. Show them what they could do. And the easiest way to start is, we can enjoy a Shabbos meal. We can enjoy Simchas Torah. What do I have to do? You just got to dance. Dance? You mean dance? Since when is our religion all about dance? Yeah, there's a holiday just to dance. You don't have to think. You don't have to learn. You have to do nothing. Just take the Torah and dance. Can't dance? Clap. Sing. I don't know the song. So just clap. Even that way you can feel good to be a part of the Jewish people. And the love for God, all of a sudden, it comes out through the layers of dark. Now, it could go right back in. We get it. But we, as a nation, can stay in contact with the Jew. And that hidden love that is so powerful in us is the same love in every single Jew. And that can be tapped into. Chapter 18 is Chai. There's no such thing as a dead Jew. The Alter Rebbe is saying even the Jew that is so far from Judaism has a hidden love. Tap it and watch them come alive. Thank you for joining us in today's class. And God willing, I will see you next week in our next class of Living Lessons from Tanya.